these planes up in the air, making those drops so very quickly. Palisades and Hughes Fire just basically outmanned, out-resourced. Right now you can see they're working to get a handle on this one. As you're seeing in our banner there, Valencia High School being used as an evacuation center. Schools are being evacuated, parents being asked to consider their children now in these situations. As you can imagine, we are revisiting the issue of, once again, having to pack up immediately and get out the door. And Sandra, I just posted on my social media today things you need to pack up in an evacuation zone, thinking, well, I'm a little late on this one. That should have been posted, a week or two ago. But here we are again. And I was in one of those zones to stand by for evacuation, so it's kind of fresh on mind here.
That's right. The 6 Ps they talk about: people, pets, prescriptions, paperwork, also pictures and photos and passports. So all of that obviously is on the fire websites, but you're taking a live look again as we show you the Hughes Fire, burning by Castaic. But let's bring in Matthew Seedorf. He is on the phone right now, joining us live from that area. Matthew, what are you looking at?
Yeah, right now we're on the 5 heading northbound past the Magic Mountain Parkway. Just a giant plume of thick smoke. We've been seeing emergency vehicles driving by, just trying to go up there and add more resources to help put out this fire, and also seeing some aircraft up in the sky. Obviously, trying to send as many resources, put out these flames as quick as possible. But unfortunately, this is a eerily similar feeling that I had going to the Palisades fire. Fortunately, this seems like there's more vegetation involved, but just the giant plume of smoke is very reminiscent of what we were seeing 2 weeks ago, and a scary situation as people are trying to evacuate.
I remember talking to you that exact moment. You were making your way to the Palisades fire, and here we are again, as Christine was mentioning. This is exactly the story we don't want to be covering, given the weather event, as well as the red flag warning and the winds that are going to pick up in the overnight hours, as well as later in the afternoon and evening. Now we are getting word that it has grown to more than 5,000 acres at this point. But Matthew, what are you seeing in terms of traffic? That's always the big situation. We heard from a deputy saying that roads were getting backed up already. Are people making way for emergency crews trying to get up there?
Yeah, they're making way for emergency crews. I did see and come into some traffic on the 5 northbound. And then right now on the 5 southbound, it is bumper to bumper of traffic and cars trying to get out of town. And we were just talking about these winds. I mean, it's definitely gusting pretty strong. Just looking at flags and stuff in the area, the winds are significant, and obviously as the fire is increasing now to over 5,000 acres, it is definitely a concern with how dry everything is right now.
Well, Matthew, you have been covering fires nonstop. To be headed to another one, I'm sure doesn't surprise you, given our very dry conditions. We're going to check in with Justin O'Brien, one of our videographers who's there on the scene also. Justin.
Yes, sorry, Christine. I'm here with the Shaheen's family up in North Hills Lake, watering down their house. They actually have a good view of the actual Castaic Lake. You can see it out there. So the fire actually is at the back of the dam at this moment, and it seems to be blowing this way. At the we have Mary here, the daughter, is going to say, what's your family doing?
We're just spraying the house any corner, any way we can. We're just trying to spray everything. I was just at work, and I don't know how I got here. I even left my car down the street. I'm like, I'm not leaving the house right now. I'm coming. I ran all the way up the street, helping. Hopefully nothing will happen, but we're staying faithful.
Staying faithful. And
yeah.
The fires that have been happening elsewhere in the city, in LA County, is that on the back of your mind?
Yeah, actually, for the longest time, we thought it was too far, too bad. But right now, hopefully, with the lake right next to us, nothing will damage this area as much as other areas right now. But faithful, I don't know. We're not leaving. The whole area is staying right here, the whole street. We're all defending our houses right now, so we're not moving.
No plan to evacuate?
We are, if it gets closer, but as far as we can, we're going to stay and spray our house down.
And just tell us a little bit about the history. It's not the first time a fire has come close here, is it?
Yeah, we actually just moved here, but we heard that there was a fire, and it was right here, right next to our house, and you can see it from old photos and stuff. So, and our house was still standing. So if my house was still standing when the fire was right here, I think we'll be okay for this time. Hopefully, crossing my fingers, but hopefully everything will be good. Yeah.
Yeah, so they are Christine and Sandra, this family here, doing their best they've seen. I'm in the same cul-de-sac that I did the last interview, and we have about, I would say, 12 families or 12 that are here actually trying to defend the house as much as possible. And I think most of them will leave if the flames come close. But they're certainly doing their best. And just to give you an idea, these fires are very destructive, but also, quite pretty, if that's the way you could use. There's the sun, beautiful orange glow as it comes through, a dangerous orange glow. So that's all from here up in Castaic, back to you in the studio.
Yeah, there is that cruelty to a situation like that with these fires where you have something like that you were talking about. Right now, though, we see homeowners so very concerned about their properties. We've been covering stories of people who have stayed in their homes to protect their homes. You can understand their passion. Reminding viewers, we've also covered fatalities, people who did not make it out of their homes in time. Last night on Fox 11, we talked to a firefighter who went to save his own home, who suffered some burns. He fell off a ladder and suffered some burns, and his wife talked about how she thought she was going to lose him. So as we look at scenes like this, praying for the safety of those residents, praying that they are far enough away from the fire, that they can get out in time, that they have those escape routes, and they're staying well informed. Justin, as you watch this, you got to feel for them as they struggle with what little water they can put in buckets from their pool. Talk about what you're seeing here.
Yeah, absolutely, Christine. It's almost just in desperation, just doing whatever you can, just in case. Fingers crossed that the lake down there or the reservoir will act as a barrier and that the airships will be able to put on enough water. But you really got to feel for this family. Bought a house here in this beautiful neighborhood, and I don't think they'd ever think one day that they'd be taking buckets of water or pans of water, throwing it over the shrubbery to try to save their house.
Well, I was talking today with somebody who's talking about getting a pump for their for their pool that they can use on these fires. One of those pumps that you think you'll never need, never probably use in a lifetime, but then again, the moment you need it, you have it. Something to think about.
Yeah, Justin, talk about the winds you're feeling there, because you could see it blowing harder than we've seen in the past. Definitely the weather, it looks like it's changing a little bit, but obviously not as severe as we've seen a couple weeks ago during the Palisades and Eaton fire, but it does seem like there are gusts from time to time.
Yes, Sandra, so I'm trying to give you a shot of the lake there. You might get an idea, so I can see the ripples on the water. But as you said, it's not as windy as it has been. We have a bit of a draft here because we're actually on the edge of a ridge, so the wind is obviously funneling up the hill. We are getting a gust. I'm not a meteorologist, but I do sail, and I could tell you the feeling I'm having is around about, I would say, 8 to 9 knots at the most. So the wind's not really blowing that hard, but certainly it's pushing that fire, and so there is a wind, but it's not the dramatic winds that we saw 2 weeks ago in the Palisades.
But I think you'll agree with me. I was out the Altadena fire zone on Sunday, and just the way it hopscotched around, where you have one building completely standing, and then the next 3 down from it completely burned out, and then it's burned all the way down to grocery stores, from the hillside to the grocery stores. So, Justin, you can talk about, I'm sure, how those embers fly and the distance they can fly, and the concern where a fire can seem far away from you, but as it creeps up closer to you, there is a concern about those embers.
Yeah, and Christine, if I could butt in there, yeah, we've got an ember that's obviously being carried by the wind, so it's created a spot fire there. I couldn't tell you where the actual main fire is, but you can certainly see the smoke there. So a concern here that this fire is jumping. The wind has picked up all of a sudden, so you got to feel for these homeowners that are here waiting. Hopefully we can get a helicopter over to that location. That's on the north side of the reservoir, northeast side. So thankfully we still have that volley of water in front here. But if those winds kick up, they're certainly going to keep blowing embers this way.
Right, that is certainly something we do not want to see. Obviously, that's on the other side, I believe, of Castaic Lake right now, but clearly we hope that that creates a natural barrier for all the flames and fire and smoke. Somebody who can tell us a lot about the wind and the weather conditions out there, Samada, you've been watching this change. It looks like it's shifting.
Yeah, and it's something that, of course, we don't want to hear, that the fact that winds are increasing, as Justin has given us an observation. And wind speeds, we have been picking up a range of 15 to 20 plus miles an hour, and those are sustained velocities. But there's those strong bursts of winds, and that poses more of a threat, considering that will drive the embers even further downwind and create more spot fires, as we're seeing before our eyes. And some of the winds in the Castaic area, gusts were reaching up to 30 plus miles an hour and could increase the range, Christine Sander, up to 40, 50 to even 60 mile an hour winds at times. But yes, if you're comparing what we all witnessed during January 7th, we're not anticipating hurricane force conditions of 80, 90, 100 miles an hour. But when you couple wind speeds of 50 and 60 with a lot of dry vegetation, and we are incredibly dry, relative humidity down to single digits, 2 to 3% is possible, and unfortunately the fuel will help drive the fire to expand and spread. And the terrain, it's a topography driven fire as well. When we're dealing with those hills, and fires tend to race faster uphill as it preheats the land ahead of it and rushes up to the ridgetop and create, again, a whole new separate issue for the firefighters. So we have three components in place, and that is what is driving these very fast-moving conditions. As you both pointed out, it started off very small and then quickly grew to 500 acres. Now we're dealing with more than 5,000 acres as this